Walstad tank has been set up for 8 weeks now, and in that time what the soil should have done is been submerged underwater, and it's been deprived of a bit of oxygen, and the bacteria have started going. It should have released all the nutrients like a normal cycle, and then the soil should have pulled them back in. That takes about 8 weeks to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test all the levels and see where they're at. So the results are as follows. The ammonia, bright yellow, there's nothing in it. Ammonia is on 0. Nitrite, there's nothing there. Nitrate, a little bit of pink. It looks about 5 parts per million of nitrate. Then my pH is bang on 7 neutral, which is where you want to be in a Walstad tank. The GH was 6. So the magnesium, calcium, 6 between them. And then the KH was 7. So KH, you want it like 8, really. 8 a little higher than 8, but for what I have to do to adjust the KH, I'm going to leave it where it is at the moment. I should, in an ideal world, bump it up a bit, but so that's my first test kit. Now I'm going to test the phosphate and the potassium, so we know where them. Right, so the phosphate results are 0.5. I don't know whether you can see that. It looks a little darker in this room, but out in the sunlight it's 0.5. Even if it was 1, it's still on point. It's still where it needs to be, between 0.1 and 1. Notice this test kit doesn't actually tell you 0.1, which is a bit disappointing, isn't it? But it's 0.5. If you want to call it 1 for argument's sake, it's still in the ballpark. So I'm flying where my phosphates are concerned. Boom, so there you go. Tested the potassium. The potassiums are 40 parts per million. I'm not too happy about that, to be honest. It's quite high. So what I'm going to do, these are the maintenance things I'm going to do to correct this stuff. So as far as the nitrates are concerned, I want them at about 1 part per million. So I've got 200 grams of high protein herons, like gram. It's granular. It's not really it's not a pellet, it's not a flake, it's just granules. So I've got this, I've been using 1/8 teaspoons. I've been putting one of these in, so I'm going to go up to 1/4 for a week, test it, and I'm going to try and get it up to 1 part per million of nitrate and keep it there. So then my nitrates are bang on where I need them to be. I'll keep them steady there, because anything under 20 and we're flying. So that's what I'm going to do for the nitrate. What I'm going to do for the potassium, I'm going to do 50% water change, drop it down to 20, and then we're at like the max level. I know it's still a bit out compared to, you know, the phosphate and the nitrate are bang in the middle of where they need to be. Well, the nitrate's lower, it's about 1/4 of the maximum. So if I do 50% water change, then that should be the phosphate, the potassium solved, and then the GH, I'm going to correct that, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with that now. So what I was going to do with the GH, I had some dry powders and I was going to make some solutions, but decided to give something else a try. What I've done is I've ordered some of this stuff, a GH booster from GB Shrimp from Glen, and what you do is you add 1 drop per 10 litres to raise it by 1 GH. So I'm going to dose 22 ml into a thing and then add that to the tank under the flow of the pump. So let's have a look. So we've got 22.5 ml. Now I needed, now what I will point out while I'm just making this up is the Walstad method says to add 2 parts calcium to 1 part magnesium. Now this adds 3 part calcium to 1 part magnesium, but the calcium will be used a lot faster than the magnesium will. In a tank like this, usually test my alkalinity very regularly. I'll test my calcium once a week, and I'll usually test my magnesium like once a month, because it usually is quite balanced, unless I do a large water change, and then I'll test it after a large water change. So I've added 22 mils into this jug of RO water. I'm going to add this straight under the flow to get it round the tank. As I say, this is 3 parts calcium, 1 part magnesium, so I'll just keep an eye on the levels and stuff. So that's what I'm going to do with that's what I've done to adjust the GH. Now I'm going to buffer the KH. Now the buffer for the KH, I was going to make soda ash, but what you have to do is you have to get bicarbonate soda and bake it in the oven on the lowest setting for an hour. You have to weigh it out, bake it for an hour, and for the amount I need to get that, I need like 1 teaspoon of it, and the soil will buffer the pH anyway, so like bicarbonate of soda will buffer your pH up. So what I'm going to do is add 1 level teaspoon to my jug, and then I'm going to add it with RO water and microwave it, dissolve it, and then I'll just do it in a little bit of RO water, just enough to make a solution, like a pasty solution, and then what I'll do is I'll add cold water to it straight away and get it in the tank. So what I've done is I've added the teaspoon to the jug, I've put the bicarb in the jug, put a little bit of a RO in there, put it in the microwave for a few minutes, let it dissolve, and then I've topped it up with RO water. So now I'm going to add this to the flow in the tank. Now, baking soda, bicarbonate of soda, will raise the pH of an aquarium slightly. But I'm doing that little in here, I'm not that worried. I'm adding that little, I'm not worried at the moment. Plus the soil will balance it out. So that's how I balance the nutrients in a Walstad method tank or desert tank, anything where I'm not dosing a complete fertiliser. In a textbook standard low tech tank, I'll set the lights up, I'll ramp them up until I'm starting to see a little bit of algae, and then ramp them back down, because I know that's the sweet spot between the levels of CO2 in the tank and the amount of light I can use. And then once a week I'll do a 50% water change and dose with TNC complete, and I know that that will balance it. I'll keep an eye on the plants, and see any signs of nutrient deficiency, I will start adding a bit more nutrients. Well, you just look at what the deficiency is on a chart and it'll tell you, and then you can balance accordingly. That's how you balance a Walstad method tank, because you're not dosing with a complete fertiliser. You have to go through all the trace elements and everything on your own. That's how you have to balance a Walstad method tank. I see a lot of people on Facebook groups telling me I need 2 inches of sand, otherwise I'll get nutrients in my water. Now, as you can see, that my nutrient levels, like my nitrate, was low, and then I get people telling me not to test with test kits. Well, we've just discovered that my nitrate was low, my phosphates were on point, my potassium was high, so I've rectified that, and we also found my GH and KH were low, so we've rectified them issues. Now, I would want to do a video making stock solutions, so as the tank matures we can dose potassium, we can dose magnesium, calcium, and we can add a soda ash solution to buffer the KH without adjusting the pH. But while it's new and the levels aren't that far out, I'm happy doing what it did for now, and I would test it all and show you again, but I've done it that many times with Walstad tanks and marine tanks, dosing these nutrients, that I know what I'm doing, and I just expect it to happen now. I just know how much I'm going to add and what it's going to do. So what I'm going to do is change over from 1/8 of a teaspoon to 1/2, get the nitrates up to 1.0, and I feel like I'm in the golden zone to keep my tank going. I'm not going to have any problems with algae issues, I don't think, in that ballpark. It's banging where it should be. The light, I'm running 4 hours on, goes off for 4 hours, comes back on for 4 hours, and then it's off for 12. All the time that light is off, CO2 levels are building in the tank. When it comes on, the plant starts absorbing CO2. So everything's healthy, everything's happy. Once the lights go off, the plants stop releasing oxygen. They release oxygen while the light's on, so as it goes off, there's loads of oxygen in the water. The beneficial bacteria in the substrate when the lights go off, can start processing all them nutrients in the substrate and releasing CO2. The CO2 level builds up and the plants start gassing off CO2. So there's loads of CO2 in the water column. When the light's off, comes back on, plants absorb all them nutrients we've balanced, and your tank is going to fly. Take care.